Hey everybody! I'm kind of filming later on in the day. I usually film my videos in the morning, but right now the weather is kind of like cloudy and kind of dimmed. I wanted to talk about a specific revelation that I got recently. About 2 days ago, I randomly got fired from my job. And, it was just kind of like a part-time, job, not really like, nothing major, but I was working for them for about a year and they fired me for something so small, something so minuscule that usually, in different corporations it would just be looked over. But for this place, they fired me for something so minuscule. And at first I was pretty sad. I was really bummed out because I was like, dang, like I got fired from a part-time job. Like I felt kind of um, like not good enough, I guess. And I felt like gosh, am I an idiot, Um and then I remembered something. When we follow Christ, when we're with Christ and Christ is with us, our worth doesn't come from what we do. Our worth comes from God's grace. Our worth comes from God's hand. He created us. We have a part of Him within us. And that's where our worth comes from Him, not the world. As I felt like a little, give me one second. As I felt a little down, I realized that everything happens in the perfect timing. And then I got more aware of like, oh, I am moving soon. So, me getting fired from my job that is in the area that I'm currently living in, that I'm currently in the process of moving out of, it's like, that's kind of a stepping stone. God had to move me from that place to make me not reside here. He has to move us. And sometimes He has to remove things that we don't really even like. Sometimes He has to remove things that we get so comfortable in. Like I got really comfortable going to that job. Like a part of me felt weird getting fired because I was like, wow, like I worked there for a year, and for a year that was, my routine, going to school and then going to that job, going to school and then going to that job. And then, and then out of nowhere I got fired, and I was just like, wow, like what am I gonna do now? Like I have all this free time. Of course I could just get another job. It kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was just like, oh my gosh. For a while I was kind of living just according to the scheduled routine. I was kind of just doing my day-to-day, the same thing every day. And like sometimes I would meditate on certain sentences and certain words saying like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, I do this like every day, basically, going to work and school. And I would say like, oh, I just go to work at school Monday through Friday, I do this and this on Monday through Friday, and I got so used to that routine, so accustomed to it, that it kept me from kind of like living outside of that shell. I got so comfortable in that scheduled routine that I stopped really doing spontaneous things as I used to do, like randomly going to the beach, or like going camping, or going on like new hikes, or hanging out with a bunch of friends, or hanging out with a bunch of new people, meeting new people. I kind of got succumbed into that small like bubble of reality for a little bit. Actually, like a month before getting fired, I realized my mood was kind of like not as good as it used to be. And I realized like, wow, like I'm not really having that much fun. Like I'm just kind of working and going to school every day, and I'm focused on these scheduled routines and these things, that I'm doing every day. I'm not really living outside of that. And I started to feel like just so accustomed to the daily life and so used to the way I was living. But getting fired from that job helped me realize again that I'm in control of my life, and I don't need to live according to a specific routine/schedule. And when we are living with God, sometimes it can be very radical. Like the Spirit moves, and when the Spirit moves, he moved. I thank God, you know, that I got let go from that job, because if I didn't, I would have gotten too comfortable. And he's in the process of moving things. Like, I'm about to move out of this area that I'm moving out of. And, you know, I'm going to a different college very soon. So this is just the stepping stone of of moving forward. And I guess I wanted to use this to express what I feel from this, express my experience to what I have learned, is that when something happens to you, don't take it to heart, because God sometimes has to move things in order for in order for you to be where he wants you to be. For me, that job was taking up a lot of my time. Like, I didn't have as much time to study. I didn't have as much time to really sit in prayer as much, or sit in fasting and prayer with God. And so now that I don't have that job, I have more time to myself, and more time for God, and more time to just live, you know, like how I want to live. Long story short, that's also like part of the decreasing the increase. Of course, it's a decrease not having a job, because then that obviously means like less money. But money is nothing compared to what God has for us. And you guys might be like, oh, maybe she just doesn't have to worry about money that much. Actually, I do. I live in my own apartment, and I have to literally pay for everything myself, because I live financially independent. We're not living in a life of flesh. We're living in a life of spirit. When we live according to faith and according to God, he has everything set out for us already. So I'm not stressed, and I'm not worried, and I'm not scared, because I know that God is with me, and that had to happen in order for him to do what he needs to do. So yeah, at first, you know, waking up the morning of getting fired, I felt like I was going through a breakup, and I felt so weird. And I was just thinking of like, wow. You know, still part of me is kind of like, damn, they really did that, you know? Like, they did me wrong. But we got to pray for our people. We can't curse anybody. We got to pray for them, you know? And I felt short at first, because I was acting off of emotion. I was kind of, you know, I was kind of angry. And, you know, that's okay, because we're human. We feel things, you know? But if you can catch yourself afterward or in the midst of it, like, just rebuke anything that you've said, rebuke any thoughts that you've thought, and just bless them and pray for them. And in the long run, you know, things happen. That's life. And God is always good. So I guess I wanted to use that to just kind of state that, like, your worth doesn't come from the world. Your worth comes from God. If you see yourself failing in something, like, repeatedly, where you see, or you're getting fired from a job that you're with for a very long amount of time, or you find out your friend was gossiping about you, or your friend is, like, you know, not close to you anymore, your worth comes from God, not from the world. We live according to the Spirit and not the flesh. And yeah, your worth comes from God. Everything he says in the Bible, do not fear, for I am with you. For who can be against me? The Lord God is on my side. Even if the world is against you, God is on your side. So do not be dismayed. God is right here. Your worth comes from him. That's just a quick message, I guess, I wanted to say. I love you guys. I love you guys very much. And thank you for watching my stuff and finding, like, interest in what I have to say. You know, some people get pretty annoyed with my voice, or like, oh, like, she talks too much. She acts like she knows what she's talking about, or she acts like she knows everything, blah, blah, blah. The reality is, I don't act like I know anything. I just love Jesus. That's literally it. So yeah, I talk about him a lot. That's why I made a YouTube channel. Yeah. So your worth comes from Jesus. All right. I love you guys. Have a great day.